Hi. Jaya. Oops. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Prabhupada,
Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Jaya Gurudev, Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Jaya
Gurudev.
Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari. All glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki.
Jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 30, titled The Activities of the Prachetas. And today we're covering 2 verses, but we'll recite them individually and I'll speak on them individually. So firstly, we'll recite verse 12. Bhavita Visruta Putro,
Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Navamo
Brahmano Gunai,
Yaitam Atma Viryena,
Etam Atma Virena,
Trilokim Purayishyati,
Trilokim Purayisyati,
Bhavita Visruta Putro,
Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Yaitam Atma Viryena,
Etam Atma Virena,
Trilokim Purayisyati,
Trilokim Purayisyati,
Bhavita Visruta Putro,
Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Yaitam Atma Viryena,
Etam Atma Virena,
Trilokim Purayishyati,
Trilokim Purayisyati,
Bhavita Vishrutah Putro,
Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Ya Etamatma Viryena,
Etam Atma Virena,
Trilokim Purayishyati,
Trilokim Purayisyati, Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Bhavita
Vishruta Putra
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Namo Brahmano Gunai
Etam Atma Virena,
Ya
Etam Atma Vidyena
Trilokim Purayisyati,
Trilokim Purayishyati Bhavita Vishruta Putro
Bhavita Vishruta Putro,
Navamo Brahmano Gunai
Navamo Brahmano Gunai,
Ya Etam Atma Vidyena
Etam Atma Virena,
Trilokim Purayishyati
Trilokim Purayisyati.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. We'll move to word for word. Bhavita,
Bhavita,
there will be.
there will be.
Vishrutaha,
Vishrutaha,
very famous.
very famous.
Putra,
Putraha.
Son.
Son.
Anavamaha,
Anavamaha.
not inferior.
Not inferior.
Brahmana,
Brahmanaha.
to Lord Brahma.
To
To
Lord
Lord Brahma.
Gunai,
Gunai.
by qualifications.
By qualifications.
Yaha,
Yaha.
Ya.
who,
Who.
Who.
itam,
Etam.
Etam.
all this.
Always.
Atma viryena,
Atma.
Atmaviryena.
by his progeny.
By
By his progeny.
Trilokim,
Trilokim.
Lokim.
the three worlds.
3 words.
3 words.
Puryaishyati,
Purishyati.
will fill.
Will
Fill.
Thank you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation, please repeat. You will have a nice son
you
You
will
will have a nice son
who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma.
who
who
will be
will be in no way inferior.
Consequently, he will be very famous
consequently he will be very famous
all over the universe.
all over the universe.
And the sons and grandsons
And the sons and grandsons
generated by him
generated by him
will fill the three worlds.
will fill the 3 worlds.
Thank you. Purport, please listen. As explained in the next verse, the Prachetas will marry the daughter of the great sage Kandu. It is suggested that the son's name will be Visruta, and that he will glorify both his father and mother because of his good character. In fact, he would be greater than Lord Brahma. The great politician Chanakya said, if there is a good tree within a garden or a forest, its flowers will fill the forest with their fragrance. Similarly, a good son within a family makes the whole family famous all over the world. Krishna took birth in the family of the Yadus, and consequently, the Yadu dynasty is famous all over the world. Om Agyantimirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshulun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschita Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining class this morning.
Thank you.
I think many devotees will be quite tired today due to the
Yes.
wonderful festivities, the 5-day celebration that we had for Gornitai and the new Brisbane ISKCON Temple has been fabulous. And the devotees went all out and had a wonderful, wonderful celebration. So I'm sure people are needing to recover a little bit today. So I'll speak a little bit on this verse 12, very briefly, because that was yesterday's verse, and then we'll move to today's verse. So yes, welcome everyone to class, and thank you all for your attendance. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to glorify Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And before we begin, please may I ask for your blessings and also your forgiveness if I make any errors or offenses. So I'll start by reading that translation again. You will have a nice son who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Consequently, he will be very famous all over the universe, and the sons and grandsons generated by him will fill the 3 worlds. So here, the Prachetas learn of their blessing that they will marry the sage Kandu's daughter and beget a very good son of very good character who will be considered as good as Lord Brahma. And it is said that if a good son takes birth within a good family, this is a boon for everyone. Just as Krishna took birth in the Yaru family, they became a dynasty famous everywhere. So the topic for this verse, verse number 12, it's about the benefit of being born into a devotee family, taking birth into a pious, good character family. This is such a blessing and a boon for a good soul to be born into a nice, God-conscious family, because from there, that soul or the Jiva Atma can make very quick spiritual progress in order to return back home, back to Godhead. And we have already learned in previous classes that, in fact, a soul who does not quite complete their journey home, they may be granted in the next life the very good fortune of taking rebirth into either a very wealthy mercantile family or perhaps a religious Brahmana family. So that will help them complete their spiritual journey. So today's verse is describing the second, the religious or the pious family situation. And I found this quote from our Vanipedia website. I thought I'd share it because I thought it explained this verse quite nicely. And here's the quote. To get birth in a Vaishnava family is a greater asset than to take birth in a rich family. Rich family means there is no economic problem, but on account of richness, one may fall down. But if one takes birth in a Vaishnava family, there is no more fall down. He makes progress further and further. In this way, he is allowed again to go back home, back to Godhead. And this quote comes from a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. He was lecturing on Bhagavad Gita 9.2. And he was in Melbourne, Australia at the time in April 1976. So let me read it. Not all of the lecture, just an excerpt. You'll find in the Bhagavad Gita that Suchinam Srimatim Gehe Yoga Prasto Abhijyate. Bhagavad Gita 6.41. This is called Bhakti Yoga. Suppose somebody is enjoying, but Maya is very strong. If he falls down, he could not execute the Krishna consciousness program completely in this life. Mostly if you simply stick, there is no difficulty. But if voluntarily we give up, that is another thing. What is the wrong there? Chant, dance, and take prasadam. You haven't got to go to work. You haven't got to go to the field or to the factory. Still, if you don't accept it, you fall down. So that is your choice. But even if you fall down because of a few days you join the Krishna consciousness movement, your resultant actions for so much time is a permanent asset. Permanent asset. What is that permanent asset? That is stated in Bhagavad Gita, that Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brasto Abhijyate. Those who have fallen from this Krishna consciousness, their next life is guaranteed a human life. Because others, there is no guarantee. Tata dehantara prapti. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. According to one's karma, he can get the body of a dog, cat, hog, or demigod. There is no guarantee that. Krishna says, Tata dehantara praptihi. Antara means another. He does not say that this body he'll get. But if one is Krishna's devotee, then there is guarantee. What is that guarantee? Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. Again, Bhagavad Gita 6.41. He'll take birth in a very rich family or in a very nice Brahmana and Vaishnava family. If he gets a Vaishnava's birth in a Vaishnava family, just like we have got so many children among our Grihastha devotees, how fine they are. They're getting Krishna consciousness from the beginning of their life. That means in the past, they had advanced in Krishna consciousness. Somehow or other, they failed to complete. Now they have got, again, a chance, again in the temple, dancing and chanting from the very beginning of life. So this is the opportunity. So this knowledge, Raj Vidya, Raj Guyam, Pratyak Savagamam, Daryam, Susukham, Kartam, Avyayam, Bhagavad Gita 9.2. Avyayam means in ordinary fruitive activities, whatever you do, suppose by karma, by material activities, fruitive activities, you become a very rich man or a very learned man, have a very good office. But everything will be finished with your death. As soon as the body is finished, all your assets are finished. But if you become a devotee, your body may be finished, but the soul is eternal. The soul will carry your assets of Krishna consciousness, and nature will give you another chance of taking birth in a very rich family or a Vaishnava family. To get birth in a Vaishnava family is a greater asset than to take birth in a rich family. Rich family means there is no economic problem. But on account of richness, one may fall down. But if one takes birth in a Vaishnava family, there is no more fall down. He makes progress further and further. In this way, he is allowed again to go home, back to Godhead. So very nice, that little reading I shared there from a lecture Srila Prabhupada had back in 1976, where he's explaining, actually, if you have to come back, if rebirth is an option, better it be into either a wealthy family or a religious family. And of course here, the benefits to being born in a Vaishnava family are clearly explained. One picks up from where they left off in their previous life and they continue on their journey. They continue their spiritual journey, ensuring that they return back to Godhead. And of course, being around a personality that is so God conscious is a blessing and a boon for everybody else in the family, for all the friends and family relatives. They're actually blessed to have a member of their family situated nicely like that. So now we'll move, if you don't mind, it was very quick, it needed to be, because today's shloka is different. So let me try and find that. Now what we'll do is we'll read from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30 and verse 13. Maybe we don't need to, Kando pramlokaya lapta, Kanya kamala lochana, Tam kapa vidham jagryur, Buruha nirpanandana. Kando, of the sage Kandu, Pramlokaya, by a heavenly society girl named Pramloka. Labda, obtained. Kanya, daughter. Kamalalochana, lotus-eyed. Tam, her. Cha, also. Apa vidham, given up. Jagrhu, accepted. Buru ha, the trees. Nirpa, Nandana, O sons of King Prachina Barisat. Translation. O sons of King Prachina Barisat, the heavenly society girl named Pramloka kept the lotus-eyed daughter of Kandu in the care of the forest trees. Then she went back to the heavenly planet. This daughter was born by the coupling of the Apsara named Pramloka and the sage Kandu. Purport. Whenever a great sage undergoes severe austerities for material power, the king of heaven, Indra, becomes very envious. All the demigods have responsible posts for the management of universal affairs and are very highly qualified with pious activities. Although they are ordinary living entities, they are able to attain responsible posts like Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna. As is the nature of this material world, the king of heaven, Indra, is very anxious if a great sage undergoes severe austerities. The whole material world is filled with such envy that everyone becomes afraid of his neighbors. Every businessman is afraid of his associates because this material world is the field of activities for all kinds of envious people who have come here to compete with the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus Indra was very much afraid of the severe austerities performed by the great sage Kandu, and he sent Pramloka to break his vows and austerities. A similar incident took place in the case of Vishvamitra. From other incidents in the Sastras, it appears that Indra has always been envious. When King Prithu was celebrating various sacrifices, outdoing Indra, Indra became very envious and he disturbed King Prithu's sacrifice. This has already been discussed in previous chapters. King Indra became successful in breaking the vow of the great sage Kandu, who became attracted by the beauty of the heavenly society girl Pramloka and begot a female child. This child is described herein as lotus-eyed and very beautiful. Being thus successful in her mission, Pramloka returned to the heavenly planets, leaving the newborn child to the care of the trees. Fortunately, the trees accepted the child and agreed to raise her. So yes, thank you everyone. That was today's rostered shloka, so we'll cover it as well. So to paraphrase in this verse, the sons of King Prachani Barisat, the Prachetas, are being told of their future wife, a daughter conceived of the celestial being named Pramloka, and also of the great sage named Kandu. The Apsara, Pramloka, left her daughter in the care of the forest, and then she returned to the heavenly planets. Now, Lord Indra has a tendency toward becoming envious of others, and he is very defensive of his post as the king of the heavens. Demigods have their roles and responsibilities, like Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, etc. But Indra does get anxious and very envious of others and of sages who do great tapasya. And in fact, this world is also full of such envy, jealousy, a selfish paranoia, that others are trying to do better than myself, or others are achieving more than myself. So we begin to fear our neighbors. Businessmen fear their colleagues and associates. One day they will surpass me. So many people come here to compete with God. They want to be the ultimate enjoyer and the supreme controller. So like this, Lord Indra feared that the great sage Kandu, his austerities would somehow outshine him. So he deliberately sent Pramloka to go and break those vows and spoil his tapasya. And the same thing happened with Vishvamitra and so many other incidents in Sastra, wherein Indra has become so envious of others. When King Prithu was outdoing Lord Indra, he went to spoil his sacrifice. And now Indra has succeeded in spoiling the vows of the great sage Kandu, who was attracted to the overwhelmingly beautiful Pramloka. And together they had a daughter. She's described herein as stunningly attractive, so beautiful with large lotus eyes. And afterwards, Pramloka, she returned to the heavenly planets and left the baby there in the forest. And the forest agreed to take care of her. So this topic, now in verse 13, this purport is all about envy and the enviousness shown by Lord Indra. Now, as spiritual seekers, as devotees and bhakti practitioners, we are taught that actually envy is incredibly detrimental to our bhakti. Envy can really harm our spiritual lives if we let it. So we must try to learn to be non-envious devotees, non-envious toward all others, all living entities, and to follow the example of those who show no envy, those who hold no envy toward others. They are our example, and this is the lesson we learn today in verse 13. So in researching this, I came across Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 4.19.2. Let me read. Tadabhi pritya bhagavan karmatisyayam atmanaha satakraturna marrise prito yagna mahotsavam. Translation. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact that King Prithu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. Thus Indra could not tolerate it, could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. Purport. In the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities and the execution of yoga practices or siddhis. Indeed, he could not tolerate them, and he desired to break them up. He was envious due to fear that those who performed great sacrifices for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. Since no one in this material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called matsara, envious. In the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is therefore said that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant for those who are completely nirmatsara, non-envious. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material. The demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. The demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. So here, it's just another example of Lord Indra being envious. And we all know that actually this type of envy is no good. This enviousness is detrimental to our bhakti. We turn things into an imagined competition where we feel strongly that we must win. I don't want to be left out. I have FOMO. I have a fear of missing out. I must be at the center of everyone's attention. Otherwise, I am irrelevant. I am insecure. Therefore, I am jealous of you. This is not the position of the aspiring devotee. For the devotee of the Lord, the bhakta, they want to be always free from any envy and to always be non-envious and in fact, help others, boost others up. And also in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4, verse 3, within the translation and purport, there was a quote. Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabdev. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet known as Bharatavash. This is yet another example of Lord Indra's tendency toward enviousness. So let me read from this 5.4.3. Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabdev. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet known as Bharatavash. At that time, the Supreme Lord Rishabdev, the master of all mystic power, understood King Indra's purpose and smiled a little. Then, by his own prowess, through Yogamaya, his internal potency, he profusely poured water upon his own place, which was known as Ajanabha. We find the word Bhagavan used twice in this verse. Both King Indra and Rishabdev, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, are described as Bhagavan. Sometimes Narada and Lord Brahma are also addressed as Bhagavan. The word Bhagavan means that one is very opulent and powerful, and a very powerful person, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narada, or Indra. They are all addressed as Bhagavan, due to their extraordinary opulence. King Rishabdev is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he was the original Bhagavan. Consequently, he is described herein as Yogeshvara, which indicates that he has the most powerful spiritual potency. He is not dependent on King Indra for water. He can supply water himself, and he did so in this case. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Yagnad bhavati parjanya. Parjanya. Bhagavad Gita 3.14. Due to the performance of yagya, clouds of water are manifest in the sky. Clouds and rainfall are under the management of Indra, the heavenly king. But when Indra is neglectful of the Supreme Lord himself, who is also known as Yagna or Yagnapati, he takes the task upon himself. Consequently, there was sufficient rainfall in the place named Ajanabha. When Yagnapati wants to, he can do anything without the help of any subordinate. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is known as Almighty. In the present age of Kali, there will eventually be a great scarcity of water, anavristi, for the general populace due to ignorance and the scarcity of yagnic ingredients. will neglect to perform yajnas. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam therefore advises yagnai sankirtan prai yajantihi sumedah saha. After all, yajna is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age of Kali, there is great scarcity and ignorance. Nonetheless, everyone can perform Sankirtan Yajna. Every family and every society can conduct Sankirtan Yajna at least every evening. In this way, there will be no disturbance or scarcity of rain. It is essential for the people in this age to perform the Sankirtan Yajna in order to be materially happy and advance spiritually. So, just a very brief summary here. This verse, I included it because it just adds to that body of spiritual evidence that I'm sure we're all very aware of, that shows Lord Indra to be consistently envious in his dealings with others. And he is clearly, this is due to his ongoing insecurities. And he's forever thinking that others are about to do better than him. And threaten his position, that perhaps they want to be Lord of the heavens too. And so that drives this fear and this envy that Lord Indra experiences. And I'm sure each and every one of us can relate to that in some way, shape, or form with some regularity. It's part of the human condition. So what do we as devotees need to be doing then? If we're aware of these intrinsic faults, of this tendency of humans to be envious of each other, fearful of losing their position, competitive when there's not necessarily competition even there. So what do we as devotees need to be doing instead of? So now I'll move to Bhagavad Gita 12.13 and 14. And let me read this in its entirety because it's the last Sastra reading for today. Advesta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samaduka sukha chami santushta satam yogi yat atma tridha nishchaya mai arpita mano buddhir yomar bhakta samir priyaha. Word for word. Advesta, non-envious. Sarva bhutanam, toward all living entities. Maitra, friendly. Karuna, kindly. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Nirmama, with no sense of proprietorship. Nirahankara, without false ego. Sama, equal. Dukkha, in distress. Sukha, and happiness. Chami, forgiving. Santushta, satisfied. Satatam, always. Yogi, one engaged in devotion. Yata Atma, self-controlled. Dridha, nishchaya, with determination, mai, upon me. Arpita, engaged. Mana, mind. Buddhi, and intelligence. Yaha, one who. Mat, bhakta, my devotee. Sa, he. Me, to me. Priya, dear. Translation. One who is not envious, but is kind, is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Purport. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds, so it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:14.8, it is stated, Tate anukampam su samik sammano bhujana evatam kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I'm just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmama means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body. Therefore, he is freed from the conception of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant, therefore he is freed from the conception. He is tolerant and is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty. Therefore, he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. So in summary here, very, very brief summary, a devotee is not envious, but is kind to all. He's not the proprietor. He's free from the false ego, and he lives with equanimity. He lives with equanimity. They are determined in their devotional service, keeping their minds and intelligence fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. And those devotees, they are very dear to Krishna. So, just to summarize today, we covered two verses. Yesterday's verse was verse number 12. And then really that verse was focused on the benefits of being born into a religious or a Vaishnava family as opposed to a wealthy family. And, you know, such benefits are that one picks up from where they left off on their spiritual journey, on their spiritual path, so that they can complete their spiritual journey at the end of that life. And of course, being born with such a strong, willful, determined spiritual focus is such a blessing for everybody in the family. Everybody that's born into a religious spiritual family like that can take the pleasure of being in close proximity to someone who's so focused. And of course, the family too is also focused on their God consciousness. But the fact is, I think it was referred to as a sweet fragrance, that the son, a good son born into a good family is likened to that of a beautiful plant, you know, and the fragrance emanating from it. There is nothing but good that can come from such a good person. So like that. And then moving to today's verse, this verse number 13. Well, this was more about envy, and in particular, Lord Indra's enviousness. But actually, we all behave like that if we're going to be very honest with ourselves. We've all had moments of rage and anger due to our being envious or jealous of somebody else and what they're doing. We might not like to admit it, but it's par for the course. This is a natural thing that happens, that occurs for human beings. However, as devotees, we actually know that being jealous, being envious, not wanting somebody else to succeed is not at all helpful for our bhakti, not at all. What is helpful for our bhakti is uplifting others, is supporting others, is cheering them on and hoping they achieve their spiritual goals, not getting in their way. That's beneficial for bhakti. So instead, yes, we want to aspire to follow the non-envious devotees and take up such practice ourselves. So these were a few of the spiritual points that I took from verse 12 and verse 13. And this idea of being born into a Vaishnava family, or learning to about enviousness and not wanting to show envy and not wanting to be envious of others, instead wanting a life of non-envy and a practice that imbibes non-enviousness. These points that are made in these shlokas are incredibly beneficial for our spiritual lives and for our spiritual progress, and be very helpful for our good quality devotional service. And this is what we want. We want our lives of bhakti to be unimpeded. We don't need the obstacles of things like envy, jealousy, paranoia, not wanting others to come up. We don't need that. We don't want that. Instead, you know, if we haven't been fortunate enough to be born into a religious family or a wealthy family, instead, then we still want to imbibe these good qualities, these good character, the good character of being non-envious. So we do this by following who? Guru, Sadhu, Sastra. If we weren't born into a Vaishnava family as such, as directly as that, we still have our family of devotees here in Brisbane, ISKCON Brisbane, our community, our congregation, they are our family. So like that, we can still, no matter what situation we've been put into, we can try and imbibe these qualities through some determination, yes, through good quality sadhana bhakti, good quality devotional service, and following Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. So I'll stop there. I hope I haven't wandered off too much from the topic. But thank you all for your attendance today. If there are any questions or comments, or especially realizations, if you have realizations you'd like to share, please do open your mic. Otherwise, thank you all for attending. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening so nicely. Okay, we'll stop there. All glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hari
High
Bol.
praise Jamuna Mataji ki jai.
Jai.